Welcome everyone to Legion Gaming. I'm your host Donnie, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Deucy.
Hello, everyone.
It's a nice lead-in, Deucy.
I wanted to do something Dracula-esque, but also that's how my voice feels after the past weekend I've had.
We're both a little off this week, I will say. We haven't, I guess it's been about a month since we last recorded, roughly, since the last set of episodes. I can't tell anymore these days. Time goes by so fast.
Yeah, and it does feel like it has been a while. I always look forward to recording, but it's like, gotta wait a couple more.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. Of course, I guess we could always make more recordings happen at some point. We'll see.
Well, we're going to have to for this month. We've got a whole slate of them planned, even a bonus episode.
Yeah, we did a whole miraculous bonus episode this month. So if you've been paying attention on Instagram, which you should be, at Legion Gaming Podcast, we kicked off a horror fest where I'm posting a new horror game each day, which has been really fun. Also, because a little bit of a surprise, I think we have some really awesome choices that are coming up down the line. And then for October, we're doing this episode, which you're listening to right now, which is Castlevania Symphony Night on PlayStation 1. And then a couple weeks, we're doing Doom. And then on Halloween, we're releasing our bonus episode, which is covering the original Resident Evil and the remake. So we got a lot of awesome stuff this month, too. So I think this is one of our best months, frankly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've been playing Symphony of the Night, and that's what gave me the idea for, hey, spooky season in October. We should do this game. And then I thought, you know what else is great for that is the classic Doom. And then you had the idea for Resident Evil, which I'm always ready to play again and get back into.
Yeah, all three of these games that we're covering this month were instant, right? Because you basically pitched Symphony of the Night and Doom. It was like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we do that? So it was pretty cool. It's one of the rare instances where we have everything planned out in a certain way.
Yeah.
And we were able to formally announce it. So we appreciate everyone listening and also, liking our posts and all good stuff too. By the way, again, that's at Legion Gaming Podcast on Instagram. I noticed that I always pitch that at the end when... most people should probably know about it in the beginning, so I'm just sprinkling that in there. But before we get to Castlevania Symphony Night and determining and answering the question of what is a man, Deucy, what have you been playing lately?
What are you playing? So I have been playing a lot because, like we said, we've got a lot of space in between time. In fact, in that time, I purchased and 100%ed Astrobot.
Yeah, I'm glad because last time we talked in the last episode, I had just bought Astrobot, and you probably got that on like a week or so later after that. I want to say it was a little bit after.
It was really quick after our recordings, but I forgot what else I was playing. I was like, okay, I got to finish this really quick, and then I'll jump right into Astrobot, and then that was like all I played.
Yeah, that sucked up quite a bit of my time. I ended up 100%ing it like you did, except I like platinum trophied it 100%. And I loved it. It was about 25 hours of bliss.
I got through all of it, and I got all of the bots that you need. But I was like, I wonder how close I am to the platinum trophy because I've been 100%ing it. I'm barely halfway on trophies.
Oh, that's surprising.
I know.
I'm really surprised by that because a lot of them are kind of just naturally unlocked. And there's a few where you kind of have to dig a little deeper, and it's not like insanely deep. It's just you have to kind of go out of the norm for some of them.
You have to look them up because I think they're like, even though they say they're not a hidden trophy or a hidden whatever, they're also kind of vague in their description. So I looked some up and I was like, all you have to do is interact with this one bot on the one planet, or you have to go in and like beat an enemy a certain way in one of the levels. And I was like, okay, I didn't think to do that while I was playing, but also I don't know if I'm going to go through and chip away little by little at all these little things.
Well, pro tip, and I don't think you knew this, perhaps you didn't, but on PS5, PS4, when you highlight the trophy list and hit square on hidden trophies, it tells you what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, did you already know that? Okay.
But like I said, I then started reading them, and I'm like, this doesn't help me.
Oh, I see. So you had to look them anyway. I looked up a few of them too, because some were, I forgot which one it was, but it's like you do have to kind of go off the beaten path. Mm-hmm. And look them up, which is fine. It's kind of like a nested Easter egg, but I love this game. Like, no matter what, I think this has to be my game of the year so far.
Yeah, it's way up there for me. It might, and I played Spider-Man 2 this year, so it's going to be a tough...
I forgot you played that. It was this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one too when we get to, if we're doing that episode again this time. But the one thing I would say kind of drew back a drawback for me on Astrobot was like those challenge levels that are based on the button symbols.
Yeah.
The X, square, triangle levels. And like some of them I got through on my first try. There's there are these challenge levels where there isn't a gimmick like in some of the planets where you have to find bots. You just have to kind of speed run this obstacle course.
It's just pure platforming.
Yeah, and it reminded me of Super Mario Sunshine when you go into certain levels and you lose the water backpack and you're just classic Mario at that point. But some of these I would get through in the first run and I'm like, oh, that was fun. And then others, it would take me 30 tries and half an hour and I'm like, screw this game. I want to chuck the controller. Like,
it's funny you had that experience because I thought the game was just right for difficulty. There was a couple I had, like I would retry like 10 times or 15, but there was never an instance in that entire game that I 100%ed where I was like, this is too much. At least for me, the difficulty was like perfect. I actually wish some of the levels were a little bit more difficult. But I'm a bit of a masochist for like platformers, you know? So it was funny when you told me that. I was like, wow, that's like the polar opposite experience of what I had.
And thanks to, our phones constantly listening to us and algorithms like picking up on that, I guess it heard me complaining about those levels. And then on like YouTube or something, it popped up, here are the 5 toughest levels in Astrobot. And I looked and they were basically all 5 of those challenge levels that I redid the most.
That's
and even
really funny.
Even the person running them, they would edit a lot of their deaths together and stuff like that. But before each level, they would say like, this took me 18 tries and 15 minutes. This took me 28 tries and 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, see, I was a little bit more, not I want to say more fair to it, but I'm used to like, I consider difficult platforms like Celeste, right? Games like that or like Super Meat Boy, where it's like those you have to try dozens and dozens of times.
Yeah.
And those can get really frustrating too, because it's also like, is it me or the controls? Like where's the disconnect? Whereas Astrobot, I feel like the controls were so tight that the only thing holding me back was myself, right? Like it's just a matter of skill for me. It's like, I actually wanted more of those levels, to be honest with you. I know that they're releasing an update by the end of the year. I don't know when. I don't know if they've announced a date, but there's going to be a speedrun mode for, I think, all the levels or most of them. And there's also going to be some additional challenges as well. So I was really looking forward to that too, because I wanted more of that. Like I basically just wanted more of the game is what it was.
I think my problem with some of them was like their inconsistency in length. Like some of them, you jump like 3 platforms and then you're done.
Yeah,
and you're like,
super simple.
What? And then others go on for so many different parts that you're like, just one checkpoint would be fine.
Yeah.
Because this is like 3 of those other levels combined.
It is, but I also appreciate the fact that they trusted the player to get through those on their own with the stuff they learned, because really, those are more or less optional. Like I'd say the main levels aren't really difficult in most respects. Like they're just fine. But I think that's the thing is like those other challenges are meant to be challenging.
Yeah.
So I thought they were fair. I didn't think they were overly difficult. But it is, I do see like some levels are too short. Like the difficulty is a little across the board.
Yeah.
Some it's like I would do the same thing. I would breeze through some in one try or not miss, and there's just like, all right, well it's been try 12. I really gotta nail this.
Yeah.
Like what am I doing wrong? What I have to recognize here.
Another problem with like not having a checkpoint is like once you die, you go back to the beginning, and then all of a sudden you might find yourself dying at the easy parts at the beginning that you had already passed 8 times.
Yeah, you psych yourself out a bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fantastic game, though. I really can't wait. I hope they release even more levels, because I know, like I said, they have some stuff coming up. But I hope they keep supporting this game, because it's one of the best PS5 games available right now. It's really freaking good. Like, I loved every moment of it, and it was definitely one of those games where when I finished it, I was definitely a little bit sad.
Yeah.
I was like, I really wish this was even longer than it was.
I was like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah. Now it's like I'll go back to the backlog that I never finished.
Yeah.
The one game I dedicated like all my time to, that's out of the way. What am I going to do now?
This is one of those games that I've done for a while, and then I realized like, oh, I should get back into like Mafia and some of those other ones that I started, or like Castlevania, as we're going to talk about. But instead, I've also been playing. I had to practice, a little bit for a competition this past week. And so I was playing a lot of Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, there was no surprise there. And you got second there, and I did not win, but I got a cold out of it, so that worked out.
Yeah, we all walked away with something, didn't we?
Yeah, really.
No, it actually came in handy because when I was practicing, I really had to practice all of those Mario Kart Tour levels.
Yeah.
The ones that like constantly change every lap, and I get lost in those.
It's easy to get lost in those because those are the most anti-Mario Kart levels, which is weird to say, but they don't feel like a Mario Kart level because they're based on real-world, landmarks or towns. but also like they change it in such a way that like you really have to pay attention where you're going because the tracks change pretty drastically, more than most of the levels.
Yeah, you're expecting to go right, and then all of a sudden you'll see those arrows pop up, forcing you to go left. Sometimes the arrows don't pop up, and when you go right, Lakitu comes and grabs you. You're like, oh, what the hell? I even noticed one of our competitors, like during the tournament, was going the wrong way a couple times.
Yeah, well, it was the guy. So it was, they made him turn off his turn assist where it was.
Oh yeah,
and I noticed that had to have been helping him because all of a sudden he was doing that over and over on those courses. Like he would just steer off in the Netherlands, and like I forgot which level it was, but I saw him do that where like he went the opposite way and got pulled back.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I think you needed that turn assist, even though it wasn't fair to everyone else.
Yeah. And then finally, I've been also playing, but we're going to talk about it next week. I've been playing the Doom. What do they call it? The collection?
I think it's like Doom 1 and 2 Definitive or something. It's sort of like the...
I mean, this is the 45th different version of Doom to ever come out, but like it's got all these remastered musical tracks, and it's got a lot of the additional content that's come out over the years, but now in one easy to navigate menu.
It's great. Night Dive had they developed this one, and they had migrated the Doom engine to their proprietary Kex engine, which is what powers a lot of the remasters they do.
Mm-hmm.
But they did once again an amazing job because, like you said, like UI is more unified now, so it has like all the different Doom games and the expansions. They made a whole new expansion with I think it was Sledgehammer Games, but they made the Wolfenstein games, like the newer ones.
Oh, okay.
So this was like a collaborative episode they all put together, and I heard it's really good. I haven't dived into it yet, but you said you started, right?
I didn't start
that
that
what it's
one.
Called.
I started like Doom 1, which
Doom 1. Okay.
I've played for 30 years, but I did play that because when you play that so often, the original Doom, anytime there's a slight change like this music, I was ready to hear it. And apologies to my wife, while she was watching TV, I had my portable Switch like cranked up just so I could hear the awesome new tunes.
Yeah, the music is really, really good. They have I forgot the name of the artist or the composer, but he sort of like reimagined a lot of tracks, and also you could toggle the original tracks, and he remastered those. But it sounds so freaking good. And for me, it's just any excuse I could get to play Doom, whether it's the original or 2016 or Eternal. I'll take the excuse. Like, I just love diving into Doom. It's so freaking easy. Just you start, you're running and gunning. That's it.
Yeah, this entire month is like your month.
It really is.
With this game today and then next week. Yeah.
These are all my favorites compacted in October. And we have a theme going, so it's pretty great. Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward. I've been replaying Doom 1 and 2 as well, but I haven't gotten into it too much because we've been playing so much else.
Yeah.
And also, with I was playing, what was the game I've been playing? Plucky Squire. I think you got into a little bit of that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Plucky Squire, it's out on PS Plus. It was a day one game there. I was intending on buying it anyway. But it's a game that takes place in this really gorgeous storybook. Like, it looks like a storybook. And also the character you're playing as a Plucky Squire gets, he could go into the real world. So it's like 3D. So it's a mix of 3D world, like almost like Toy Story. But then you have the storybook world where everything's like animated and it looks like a storybook, that you're playing.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer for this, it was like right before it was coming out. Literally, I hadn't heard a thing about it. And then I saw the trailer. It must have been on some sort of like PS, what do they call it? State of Plays or something like.
Yeah.
And God, I was like, okay, the storybook elements look very cutesy and kind of like what you would expect from a modern 2D game, kind of Castle Crashers, but even more refined. And then when he popped out into the 3D world, I was like, this 3D world has no business looking this good.
It looks incredible.
And this realistic.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage of when you do these really tight focused games is you can focus on making everything look incredible because it's not like you're running a giant open world where there's a lot of blandness, right? Like all the areas here are confined to a certain space. Like each chapter, it's not so expansive either. Like it's really there's an element of the chapter where you're in the storybook, and you're really just trying to. I think his name's Humpagrump. Is that the big boss's name?
I think it's just Humpgrump. Yeah,
Humpgrump
or Humgrump or something.
Humgrump. Like yeah. So he's like the big bad guy who basically his whole evil plan is to rewrite the story as we know it so that he wins.
Yeah, this game is very meta.
It's very meta, but it works in such a great way, and it's so freaking charming to play. But yeah, the 3D worlds look really nice because it's just like you're on the author's desk. So there's a lot of like paint supplies, art supplies. It looks amazing. It's just such a fun thing to play. And I ended up finishing it because it's only I think it's 9 chapters long.
Oh, good.
And the 9th chapter is pretty long on itself, but it was like, I don't know, I want to say it was like 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah, I started it a little bit. I've definitely got to get back into it more because it came out shortly after I got Astrobot.
It did.
And I was like, I really want to play this because it looked cool in that trailer, but I've also been dedicating Astrobot. So I want to play through that really quick because then, like, for the rest of this month, I want to get into a lot of horror games. Like, I want to finally do the Dead Space remaster. Maybe finally do Resident Evil 7 and 8.
I think you've had my copy of 8 for like months now.
Yeah.
Did you borrow it? Like, I don't know when you borrowed it.
Like 2 recordings ago.
Yeah, like spring of 2024.
Things just keep getting in the way, but yeah, this seems like the appropriate month for that.
I think so. You always get that itch too, of course. So when it's October, you just want to get in the horror game fix.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Plucky Squire, I definitely recommend it. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. It's a perfect length where it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just such a freaking charming game. Like, it's not like Astrobot levels of charming, but
yeah,
it's a very unique game. Also, I even talk about the aspect of, there's a lot of times where the puzzles where you're traversing through the storybook world and the real 3D world, and there's instances where you have words or actions, and you have to fill in the blanks of that section on another page. So it might say like, there was a huge bridge blocking your way. Well, you could take the word tiny or something, and it'll say like, now this bridge, the tiny bridge is blocking your way, but you just walk right over.
Yeah, because it's tiny now. It's like out of your way.
It's literally,
technically.
It's really great. I actually unlocked a trophy where I took the word cheese, and there was like mushrooms growing on a wall, and it said something like, there's blank mushrooms in the wall, and I popped up a trophy for getting cheese mushrooms because they're just like these cheesy mushrooms hanging out of the wall. So it's really funny because you could pick and pull the words you want and make these stupid sentences. Most of them don't work, but they're really sort of
But you might get a trophy for it.
You might get a trophy, yeah, or you might progress the game. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend that one. I've also been playing a lot of Space Marine 2 still. I've been doing some multiplayer there. That's been really enjoyable.
Oh, yeah. I saw that recently. Somebody on YouTube was playing the multiplayer, and it looked really fun. Like, it's definitely slower paced from a Call of Duty type game. It reminded me of Gears of War, except you could respawn, which was
very much like that.
a godsend. Like,
Yeah.
I could never play the Gears of War one because I was always the first one dead.
Well, and also, I get impatient with that too, especially if there's a long spawn time. Like, sometimes I just want to, like, I get irritated with Call of Duty as well because it's like, it sucks when you're dying over and over and over.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you're dying so quick where you can kind of ignore it. Whereas if I'm waiting for an 8-second spawn timer because I died in some stupid way, it's like, I'm more annoyed than anything. But Space Marine 2 is rooted very much in, like, for me, the old school arena shooters where, it's not you're not so concerned about the meta weapons or anything like that. Like, it just feels like a hulky, beefy Gears of War game.
There's like different types of characters, right, that come with their own weapons?
Yeah, they all have different weapons and abilities, so there's that aspect too. But so far, I don't feel like anything has been overpowered. But I also know the developers are, tweaking and balancing things as time goes on as well. But so far, I've been having fun with it. Like, I don't feel like I've been cheated or annoyed because I'm just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, it's been fun enough. So I've been enjoying that. And then, more importantly, the other big game I'm dedicating time to is Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about that.
It's really cool. I've really been liking this. This is a different Zelda game where, in the beginning, you play as Link fighting Ganon, and then when you kill Ganon, you're pulled into this rift, and then
isn't it kind of like you could say a sequel to Link to the Past?
Yes, because it kind of starts at the end of Link to the Past.
Yeah.
And then Zelda breaks down, like, she's like encased in this gem thing. And then basically it's twisted. So it's like Link and Ganon are in the rifts, but now you're Zelda having to go, basically clear out the rifts all around Hyrule and then, find Link.
Yeah.
But it's great because she's not like a traditional swordsman, so she can summon what they call them echoes, where, you defeat certain enemies or certain objects like a table or a bed, where you use these to traverse puzzles, or you can summon enemies to kill other enemies.
Oh, fun.
And there's a ton of these things you can pick up and learn. They're called echoes. They're just everywhere. So I'm only like, I beat the first couple dungeons. I've been having a lot of fun with it. The bosses are easy, which was something I had a complaint with Link's Awakening. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's like, they're not as challenging as I wish they could be.
Yeah.
But the game is it's just so freaking fun because you have so much play with how you solve puzzles. Like, if you're trying to get over a crevice, you might stack 4 beds in a row to make a bridge.
Yeah.
And you're limited by how many things you can summon at once, but that's also part of the aspect. It's like, what echoes do you have and how are you going to traverse this or how are you going to feed this enemy? So it's really good. I've been enjoying the hell of it. Just, it's great. It's portable. I've been playing it docked. and it's worthwhile. I'm sure you're going to get it at some point too, but it's definitely like this twist on having you play as Zelda and make it totally different from typical Zelda is amazing.
It is wild that it has taken this long for a Zelda game. I mean, there was the one on
the CDI games. Yeah,
nobody counts those.
No,
but like even Peach has already had 2 games of her own.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, on DS and Switch.
Yeah,
she had her own game. So I don't know. It's weird that they suddenly decided to do it, but I'm glad they did because it's definitely a great twist on the Zelda formula. I think it's freaking exceptional. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
After all these years, they should have called this one The Legend of Link.
That would have been hilarious.
Just
I would have really loved
thrown
that.
everybody off.
What? Why does only sell a fraction of the other one? It would have been great. Yeah. So with that, I've also been playing Castlevania Symphony Night. So I guess there's no better time than now, Deucy. All right, Deucy, Castlevania Symphony of the Nights. This has been one game I think that's been on my list for podcasts for probably since the beginning, I would say, right? This is one of my favorite games on the PS1. It's one of my favorite games ever. I know I say that a lot, but I have a lot of games I really love, as many of us do. And this was originally released where we just missed the anniversary. This was released October 3rd, 1997. Which, geez, Deucy, 27 years ago. It's pretty mind-boggling that this one came out back then.
And it plays just like any of the more recent Metroidvanias.
It does. I played through this, I don't know, once every re-release, because it tends to get re-released quite often.
Yep.
And I bought it like on 360. I bought it on PS4 and all that. And it's always a great time. It holds up despite its age. And it's one of the better PS1 games, I think, which we'll get into too. So this originally was started in development in 1994. It was actually going to be a 32X game, which I did not expect to be that at all. This doesn't feel like it would have been a 32X game, especially with how quickly that thing died.
I know I could see that mostly because of the 2D aspect.
I think that's why they would have used it if it did come to be on the 32X. Yeah,
that would have made it look really great, and it seems like that's what they were going for on that, more so than PlayStation was all about the 3D, just like N64.
Yeah, and we should talk about that too. There was a big sort of controversy surrounding this game, and I don't want to say controversy as in like thrill kill controversy, but in 1997, 3D was it. Nintendo 64, I don't think Mischief Makers had come out yet. That was like one of the few 2D games on the N64.
That I want to say was in the
98 maybe.
Oh man, I was gonna say I guess 99, 2000,
somewhere around. Yeah. There. So, but really by 97, like 3D was the thing. 2D was very passé, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night got a lot of flack on release because it was a 2D game when everything was expected to be 3D.
Yeah, but then you make a 3D game like Castlevania on N64, and look what you get.
Exactly. Yeah. So this all ties together in one way, but it's pretty interesting when you see that. Before release, people were a little bit apprehensive about where Castlevania was going. And the last game previous to this was Castlevania Bloodlines on the Genesis, which was, a fantastic Castlevania game. It's a traditional Castlevania game with maybe the biggest twist is that you have 2 different characters you could play as.
Oh, yeah.
But in general, like it follows the formula pretty straightforward. Like there's nothing really too different about it.
Was that one kind of stiff like Rondo?
Not as stiff.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird to say. Like it still feels like a Castlevania game, but I think maybe being on Genesis helped it. But it's definitely like it still has some stiffness to it. It's not as fluid as you would expect.
Yeah, not like Super Castlevania 4.
Oh God, no. That one's a little bit rough. Even though I love that game too. Yeah. So Castlevania Bloodline was by that point would have been like the 5th, 6th Castlevania game, I would say.
Which one? Bloodlines?
Yeah, Bloodlines. Actually, no, because you had the 2 Game Boy ones too, so it would have been like the 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
So by 94, Castlevania had not done a whole lot to distinguish itself from everything else. It was kind of getting old and tired.
Well, it was like that's the whip game.
It was.
Yeah. It looked very similar to Ghosts and Goblins, but Ghosts and Goblins was like the spear chucking game, you might say, the javelin whatever you had.
Yeah.
And then this one was the same thing. You're fighting bats and monsters, but you have a whip.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think maybe it was getting a little tiring by then. I don't think I was. Granted, like I didn't play Bloodlines when I was a kid because I just couldn't find it on Genesis. But I loved Castlevania, and it it seemed like Castlevania went silent for a while, and I guess it's because they had started development for, it was going to be called Castlevania The Bloodletting on 32X.
Yikes.
And then I'm sure in the midst of them, conceptualizing the Bloodletting, they're like, oh wait, 32X is not doing well. It's probably going to die within the year. We have to focus our efforts on the up and comer, which is PlayStation 1. And really, the dev team was more excited about the PS1's capabilities because it was, a generational leap compared to the 16-bit systems. And even, I don't even think they would have considered doing it on the Saturn either. I don't even know where they were with the Saturn. I'd imagine like the Saturn was just getting kind of rumblings, but maybe 32X was the focus because that was supposed to be the thing that carried them over to the Saturn, right? And also the producer for this game was Toru Hagihara. He also directed Rondo of Blood, which directly ties in this game.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And then more notably is Koji Igarashi. He's known as Iga now. Like, that's sort of like his nickname, and he's just known as like the godfather of Castlevania in a sense. So it's sort of the modern Castlevania, I should say. He initially started with writing the story in this game and the programming, while also influencing the creative side of things. And later on in development, he was asked to become the assistant director because Hagihara had been promoted to the head of the division. So he took the he was doing a lot to begin with, and then he took the bigger mantle of being an assistant director, which moved this game and series in ways that were definitely revolutionary and would also influence it for the rest of Castlevania's lifetime, really.
So was he kind of the main proponent of having a Metroidvania style?
He was, I would say he was definitely the biggest influence on changing the direction of Castlevania to where, they went more towards Metroid. And one of the things he pointed out when they were developing this game was from a developer interview. He mentioned that a $58 game should give you $58 of value, which, some games today you can compare and say maybe not, maybe so. And my point, it's like, it's always based on what you're going to put onto it, right? Because Turtles in Time was $80 back then, right? We've talked about this.
And you can finish it in less than half an hour.
In less than half an hour, right? Nowadays, people would throw a shit fit about that. People get mad when it's like a 5 or 6 hour game that's nice and tight and compact when it's like $40. So, I understand this mentality because ultimately it actually provided more value for Castlevania Symphony Night because it made this game massive. There's so much in this freaking game.
Yeah, I would almost say a little too much. Like, we've talked about Super Metroid is my game and Castlevania is yours, and they're like two halves of the same coin. But like this game, they packed in way more than just $58 worth.
There's a lot.
Like, I could not imagine having a whole second planet of Super Metroid.
Well, and that's what's crazy is because there's so much nested in this game that when I was a kid, I had no idea there was so much left in the game.
Yeah.
When I finished it, I was like, oh, okay, I finished it. And then of course, you later read about the inverted castle and all that stuff we'll talk about as well. But it's like, holy crap, this game, there's so much hidden in this game.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you really have to like go through with a fine-tooth comb to figure everything out because the other side of this is like, this isn't a rushed game, but there's definitely aspects of it that are kind of confusing. Like, some of the gems you acquire, they just say sellable because of the mistranslation. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yep.
And you find out it's sellable. But you can equip them for some reason.
Yeah.
They don't boost your stats or anything. They're just equipable when you sell them.
I wish there was like one little colored pixel on your hand or something so it shows you're wearing a ring or something like that. I'm accessorizing.
Yeah. So when Iga kind of took over things, he said that this was really meant to be sort of a side story at the time because their intent was to sort of break the confines of Castlevania, and they thought by doing a side story it would allow them to have the freedom to do that, which makes sense. But as it turns out, during development, they really just sort of integrated this with the main story arc of Rondo of Blood.
I was going to say, this is a side story the way Miles Morales was a side story.
It's a full-on...
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd call it when it spins off into its own thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word would be.
But then also kind of morphs back into the main line.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like it's a side story that blends into the main overarching story. It's pretty incredible. And also, the thing with them is... they actually pitched Simon's Quest as a way to pitch Symphony of the Night.
Oh.
Which, again, we've talked about that game's influence on things that...
That was a game ahead of its time, but also, like, really clunky.
Really obtuse, really clunky, and definitely, those... I feel like that and... what's the Zelda 2 called? Link's Adventure?
Yeah.
Those two are sort of the black sheeps of Pinnacle NES series, and yet... a lot of people still cite them as influence these days, right? At the time, they're kind of like, what the hell is this? This is not Zelda. This isn't Castlevania. And yet, somehow, those games have persisted through 36, 37 years and influenced things. So it's really interesting that as weirdly received Castlevania 2 was, that it ultimately influenced Symphony of the Night, which would ultimately influence a whole entire genre of games after that.
It's like that line in Back to the Future when he's like, "You're not ready for it, but your kids are gonna love it."
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. So some of the key changes they wanted to focus on in Symphony of the Night, they wanted to make this more exploration-based, which again ties into Castlevania 2. That was very much more based on exploration and going back and forth and backtracking. They wanted to add RPG elements so that anyone could beat the game with any effort, because that was one thing that Iga noticed, and you and I definitely noticed that, and I think pretty much every kid. Castlevania is not an easy series. Like,
nope.
Those games are very difficult. So adding an RPG element was technically sort of their way to solve a sense where if you grind enough, or if you get enough equipment that's worthwhile, you could technically beat this at some point, even if you have to grind through it.
And you don't even have to grind the way that you would in an RPG or a classic RPG, because the way you backtrack so much in this game, or maybe just get lost, you end up leveling up naturally.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was on my way to Richter. Is that him? Yeah.
Yes.
At the end of the first castle, and on my way to him, every enemy was only doing like one bit of damage to me. That changes once you hit the upside down, but yeah, it wasn't like I was sitting in one room constantly hitting the same enemy over and over. It was just natural because I got lost so much that I was killing a bunch.
Yeah, I would say, one little critique I have of this game, and I don't have really many critiques, because to me it's like some of the stuff is nitpicky and whatnot, but I do feel difficulty is a little imbalanced in a sense where early in the game, like, it does feel like it's a pretty hard game initially. Like, it's not Castlevania OG difficult, but it's pretty easy to die.
Yeah.
And you're right. By the time you naturally progress through the castle, it's almost like those early enemies are inconsequential. And even some of the later bosses aren't that difficult if you just kind of progress through the game normally.
Yeah.
So I feel like they at least succeeded in that, because also I don't think this should be more challenging than it is, because the inverted castle does, for lack of a better term, put everything on its head. And everything's quite a bit more difficult there, but not unfair. And also some of the other notable aspects of this game I wanted to get into was the art style of Deucy. What did you initially think about this art style? Because for me, it's gorgeous. It's totally refreshing compared to old Castlevania games.
For me, it was like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like when I played the original Castlevania on Nintendo, this is what I saw in my head, was everything
like what you imagined?
Yeah, everything in Symphony of the Night is what I was pretending the original Castlevania was.
Yeah.
And I mean, that game was really great looking for a Nintendo game, but then this was just the natural progression. You're like, yes, this is what Dracula's castle should look like.
Yeah, the sprite graphics in this game, I'd say they age pretty well. Like, they might be a little bit blurry these days, but I think some of the sprite art here is just freaking gorgeous.
Even now that they're on modern consoles, PS4, PS5, what have you, it doesn't show its age.
It doesn't.
It's like scaled up well with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you probably nitpick, but I'd say overall, like, it holds very well, and I think that's just normal for a lot of pixel-based games where they just age better than a lot of 3D games. The art style was sort of directed here by a newer artist, Ayami Kojima, no relation to Hideo Kojima.
No.
She debuted in the industry as an artist with Symphony of the Night. She was initially a character designer, and she conceptualized the main and supporting cast. And you could tell here that everything is very distinct and realized. Like, everything just has like this, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it's not quite painterly, but it's just like almost like a fine art look to it. I don't know what the word would be.
Yeah,
like
that
super
makes
realistic,
sense.
ultra realistic. And the team went to her because they were searching for someone who hadn't done work with games, and they wanted someone who was active in a whole different genre of things. So for her, they went to bookstores and they went to other places to check out book covers, and that was kind of how they would gauge the artist, right?
No.
And they found hers, and they felt like she would be the best fit because she had like this really rich aesthetic for her art direction, and that's what they wanted for the Castlevanias. Like, they wanted something new and refreshing that was totally different than what they had done in the past.
The only thing I would say, and I'm not trashing on anything, but like when you get down to the caverns or the caves underground, those seem a little like old school, kind of run of the mill.
They do. I think for the most part, like this, the art is really, really great, and there's some where it's like not as great, right? Like, it's just.
But it's fine because you don't spend a lot of time down there.
You don't. Yeah. So it's more like maybe that was like something they did later in development. 'Cause
Yeah.
I imagine this game, like, again, the whole purpose of the inverted castle is like they could fit 2 games in one, more or less, without having to, spend double the resources.
And that alone makes it fine. Is like when you play the upside down castle and everything is literally upside down.
Yeah.
But now you have to walk along the ceiling and everything.
It's crazy.
You're sitting there going, was this even in the right side up one?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, this doesn't feel familiar, even though it should be. Yeah. And also, Iga said that they wanted to go with a different and more refined aesthetic this time, instead of like the big old macho, like Simon in his, I don't know what you'd call that, like that weird like leotard thing he's got and like a whip.
Oh yeah, his little skirt and like,
It's super 80s macho. And also, this style is based on Bishonen, which it's a Japanese term meaning beautiful youth boy, which you could very clearly see in most of the character portraits. Like they just have this very like almost like young look to them, like they're probably like in their early 20s,
like porcelain dolls.
Yeah, like that's a great example for porcelain dolls. Yeah. And I guess at the time, like their thing was they're kind of play off the 1970s popularity of androgynous glam rock bands in Japan.
Okay, yeah,
which makes sense because Alucard, he looks masculine, but he almost kind of looks like he has feminine tendencies too, like just the way with his hair's done and his look and his face.
It reminds me of the Final Fantasy 3/6 artwork for the characters.
Their portraits.
Yeah,
that's a good comparison. Like they have that same color style and hue and everything. Yeah. So yeah, the graphics. I mean, the art style here is like it's definitely one of my favorites of all Castlevania, because I think as later games went on, like Dawn of Sorrow, I like the art style, but it's more anime, which I wasn't so warm to.
I feel like that's what they really moved into when they started doing a lot more Metroidvania Castlevania.
They did, because even the early GBA ones were very much in the Symphony at Night aesthetic, and then Aria of Sorrow is kind of when like you could tell things were getting a little more anime, and Dawn of Sorrow, they just jumped the shark.
But but it's also fitting now because there's like the anime styles on Netflix for the 2 shows.
Yeah, exactly. Which that show is fantastic. I don't know if you've gotten to see much of it. I've got through the first 3 seasons. I think there's a 4th one out.
I got through the first season.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's a really great interpretation of Castlevania and like how they fold all the games into it.
Yeah,
I really like it a lot. Let's get into some review scores, Deucy, before we get into like ports and what we thought about the main game here. So reviews. Nintendo Power obviously won't review this because this was a PlayStation exclusive at the time. So we have a gameplay review from issue 108, September 1997. Symphony Night was the cover feature. They gave graphics 5 out of 5, sound 5, control 5, fun factor 5. They thought it was impossible to put down and long adventure that looks and sounds amazing. They noted the stunning 2D graphics made it one of the best looking Castlevanias ever, and it was one of the best games of the entire year. And also they thought that the abilities and weapons made the game a lot more compelling, and there's a ton of surprises, which I completely agree with that review.
I mean, I do agree with it, but at the same time, it's kind of wild to think about. Like you said, there was a controversy for having a 2D game at this time on this system, and yet the magazines knew we should still give this a perfect score.
Yeah, like they did not pull any punches here because they felt like this was one of the best games of the year. And it's like, it's crazy to think that there was, again, in a time of 3D games, like a 2D game stood out top in 97, right? And, Final Fantasy VII had come out that same year, so it was up against that. So for them to say, like, it's one of the best of the year, that's some pretty high accolades to reach.
Yep.
EGM reviewed in issue 100, November 1997. This got Editor's Choice Gold. These are all out of 10. It got a 9, 9, 9.5, 9.5. They called it a PS1 masterpiece, and we're happy that Castlevania is back. They noted the elements of Castlevania 2 and Super Metroid, and one reviewer wished that they had included some older music, which I kind of agree with. Like,
yeah,
I love the music in here. I think it's fantastic, but it would have been cool if they just had at least like a couple old jams from the old original games,
I like how they said elements of Super Metroid when it's like,
it's basically Metroid.
Yeah, you've melded them together.
Melded them. It's perfect, yeah.
It's a whole new genre.
Yeah. They love the huge bosses and tight gameplay, and they said how ironic that one of PlayStation's best games is 2D.
Yes.
Best feature, 2 different castles. Worst feature, lame voice acting.
Yes.
I can agree with that. Like, the voice acting is cheesy and awful. And of course, it has like that charm, like that tongue-in-cheek charm, but objectively, like, it's pretty bad. It's not good.
I mean, what are you going to expect? This is 97. Just the year before was Resident Evil in 96, and that was like the epitome of bad or cheesy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you didn't have too much time between now and then to, like, I don't know, have people practice more.
Yeah, it's like what else could you really expect out of that?
People, voice actors weren't really taking games too seriously yet, even though a lot more games were using voice actors.
Well, it's still very new to video games in general. Like, there have only been like FMV games. There wasn't a whole lot of story-driven games with voice acting. I mean, 98 would be Metal Gear Solid, where it would just set the world on fire.
Yeah, that was like setting the bar at an all-new high.
Yeah, but before then, this is what we had. And like, really, it's just, back then as a kid, I wouldn't have cared. I would just notice, like, okay, it's voice acting. I don't think I was too critical of it because I enjoyed the game so much.
I've also, this version that I'm playing in the, what is it called? The Requiem or the...
Yeah, the Requiem collection.
Yeah, it's got re-recorded lines.
Yeah, it's based on the PSP version that was on the Dracula X Chronicles, which was a remake of Rondo of Blood. So they had redone some things for that version, which was some of the voice acting, which kind of sucks because some of the old stuff had some silly charm.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that because I never got too far in the originals.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I borrowed it from you or when I played it on 360. But now I didn't even really notice that there was a difference in the voice acting. I happened to watch somebody play it on YouTube, and they were playing the original PS1 version for their first time. And then I realized, I was like the shop salesman,
the library guy.
Yeah. My God, he was so cheesy.
He has a huge difference.
Yeah.
And originally, like, he's just like this high pitched, stupid voice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
And then I realized that the Resident Evil 4 merchant guy is heavily based on him. On the library one.
I didn't even connect that.
He says a lot of the same things.
Wow, I never connected that somehow. Yeah, that makes perfect sense though, because I wonder if that did influence Resident Evil 4. I guess it would have had to. Right?
Yeah.
The voice acting is what it is, but you're right. I think like even when I played the PSP version, I didn't notice because I hadn't played the PS1 version in so long that I did notice that of course, one of the most iconic lines at the beginning is, "What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets." That was removed, which I hate they removed that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like that's part of the bloodline, for lack of a better term there, of Symphony of the Night. It's like the beginning sequence when you're fighting Dracula and he says that stupid line.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, but that's part of the game for me, And also, I wanted to note, too, GamePro had a review for the Saturn port of Resident Evil. And I already texted you this, Deucy. So the scores were 8, 8.5, 9, 6, which... fine, whatever. I was more upset about the one reviewer who said, about Resident Evil 1, I should say, "I remember playing this game before when it was called Alone in the Dark. It borrows heavily from the classics, but isn't as good. Barely above average."
Yeah.
I would have noted it, but I was so offended by that I decided to put that in here.
When I read that, when you sent it to me, I realized, like, this guy was ahead of his time because now... you go onto social media and a lot of things that pop up are directly intended to piss you off.
Yeah.
So that
it's that rage bait.
Yeah. And this guy was like the grandfather of rage baiting. It's crazy. And I feel like a lot of reviews back then always had that one that was off. Like, what game were we reviewing where they gave it like a 1 or a 2?
Bond, James Bond 007.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
And it was like, get your head out of your asses, guys. Like, you were doing this just so that, I don't know, people would write into the magazine or something.
I guess, because, for me, it's the 6. I don't know. That means it's like slightly above average if we're considering 5 above average. I know we're getting like in tangent with everything, but I was so offended by this. I feel like we had to address it on the podcast 27 years later. But the fact that he compared it to less favorably to Alone in the Dark, which I think that was 93, 92, I want to say, and that was like 3DO, and eventually there was a Saturn port. That didn't age well by 96.
Nope.
97. So to say that Resident Evil 1 is less than that is pretty crazy to
Yeah.
me. Either you barely played Resident Evil or you had a bad day that day. I don't understand. Yeah. So I feel like I had to point that out because whenever I read these old magazines, I always enjoy reading them because they're like a time capsule for the time itself. But also when I see stuff like this, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what?
I'm actually surprised. I don't know. Maybe you'd have to look into a lot more magazines, but there's probably somebody out there that ranked Symphony of the Night really low.
Oh, I guarantee it.
And said, like, what's with these like 2D graphics, these old school, like, this is the age of 3D now.
I should dig deeper. You're right, because I guarantee you someone had to mention that in some magazine where they just were like, yeah, it's great, but
I want to be
3D.
I want to be contrarian. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. So I just thought that was really hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, Deucy. So let's get into the game bits and pieces because I played through this a few times over the years.
A few.
I played it on the original. I bought it basically every time it's been available, like PSP, 360. I finally secured myself a Saturn copy, which Granted, I can't play, but I still have it.
Oh, yeah.
But for you, this was like your first sort of like deep dive into the game. So I'm very curious how you sort of thought with your experience, because I think you got up to, did you get up to the final battle in the first castle?
I beat it, and I've teleported to the Upside Down, and then I got to like whatever the first save room is.
Okay, so you're still very early in the inverted castle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is the furthest I've ever gotten in this game. Like we've said before, I would borrow this a lot and then get lost and immediately stop playing.
Yeah, I absolutely love the irony of that. That's my Super Metroid for you. And
yeah.
Like you said, this is your Super Metroid to my parallel is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
One of these, the review in GamePro when they said it's impossible to put down. Not for me.
Yeah. You're like, I'm done.
I don't even know what would stump me. Like sometimes maybe I would lose at a boss a number of times and I'd be like, okay, I'm done with this. And other times it would legitimately be I got lost and I see all of these open areas in the map and I'm like, I have no idea how to get there.
Yes. Yes.
But this time, I think what's helped this time is the ease of access to the internet that we have compared to in times past, where I just pause, go on my phone really, really quick, look up YouTube or any type of game FAQ, and then be like, oh, okay, I know exactly where to go now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, when I played this as a kid, I would get stuck a lot, and I eventually beat the game without knowing there was basically a whole other game after the fact. So I guess we could set up some of the basis of the story here, because this starts off in a really cool way where you start at the end of Rondo of Blood, which is very unique. Like you're Richter, you go up to Dracula's throne room and you fight Dracula, and you beat Final Form Dracula, and that's what ends up leading into Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where Alucard comes in to basically free Richter, because he's basically put under this sort of magic spell under Dracula, where he's kind of taking over the castle more or less. And you start out powered up, much like a Metroid game. You start out powered up as Alucard. He's just like destroying people one hit. He's got all of his magical powers.
Yeah.
He's got all of the OP equipment. And then you get all your powers and items taken away by Shaft. So this is where the game really starts to meld with Metroid, where it's like it's a full-on Metroid game. And since then, they've coined it into Metroidvanias, which that's one of my favorite genres now. But it's pretty incredible to think that a Metroidvania didn't exist before this game. This is what sort of, set, like I said, the whole series for the rest of time. More or less. And so you start out with basically nothing. You start with your fists. You eventually collect some weapons, which is a new thing in Castlevania. Like even the whip, I don't even think you find a whip in here at all. There's no whip. It's all sort of sword-based weapons. And this was a time where all the weapons didn't have different sprites. So like you might get like a cutlass that looks like a bayonet or something like that.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say this is definitely showing its age in that you have some weapons that are two-handed, but they don't show like an overhead swing or anything.
Yeah,
I do enjoy that about the later Metroidvania Castlevanias on the handhelds, where like different weapons are going to do different things, move either like swing faster or swing slower but hit harder.
Yeah, they all have different attributes that are appropriate for the weapon.
But like in this, they do have attribute numbers, so you'll notice that your attack power is going up. But like in those other games, there might be this like overhead arc where you can hit things above you or in a diagonal. And in this one, it's always just a quick stab out in front of you.
Yeah. And really the only difference here is you get these sort of magical rods, like the shield rod and a star flail. Those look a little bit different, but I think that makes sense because, those are more like magic-based weapons, so they had to distinguish those from like a sword. And the whole game is basically just you exploring the entire castle, getting stuck, and then you unlock new abilities, like you unlock a wolf form, which allows you to kind of speed around faster. It doesn't have much utility outside of that, I don't think, though. I didn't use that too much.
It's kind of like the speed booster in Metroid. There's like a couple parts where you can break through a wall.
Yeah.
It eventually you pick up something that allows you to bite as the wolf, because otherwise you're defenseless.
Exactly. Yeah, because otherwise it's like this little bark, which is pretty funny, like a little dash. You get a mist form, so there's certain gates you can pass through that, again, the game doesn't overtly tell you these things, which is, I think, is a lot of the challenge of this game, is that some of the things are obtuse, perhaps because they're mistranslated or just translation issues in general.
I feel like they added this part in this version I played, because you can bump into a wall and it says, "Oh, mist could pass through." They did keep
that, yeah. So I meant like that. They'll tell you, but there's other things where I can't think of an example, but it's like it won't tell you how certain things work to progress, right?
Yeah,
you have to figure it out
for sure. Like I think I said in one of our previous episodes where I got lost and I had to backtrack like I knew I needed a certain power up, but I had to backtrack through 3 other power ups to figure out where to go first. What's my first step?
Yeah, and it's pretty tough. Like, I mean, that's the thing that had to wrap my mind around as a kid. Like, this is how I learned to play a Metroid game, was because of this.
Yeah.
And granted, I couldn't be Super Metroid for like another decade or whatever. But this game allowed me to love Metroid games more, because it's like, now I get it. I understand how this is supposed to flow. It makes sense to me, even though, I basically finished half the game by the end of the game, really.
When I get lost in this one now, it always makes me think, like, did I ever get this lost in a Metroid game?
I'd be curious, actually. I feel like you had to have, but you played so much that you just got familiar with it. Because I bet if you had done Castlevania Symphony of the Night enough, you'd be able to breeze through it too. But I think this in general is a lot harder than Super Metroid, just because of the difficulty kind of spikes at times.
And the length.
Yeah.
Like, Super Metroid has a very laid out boss pattern. Like, there's some mini bosses in some areas and then the main ones. This one, they just throw random large enemies at you and call it a boss. And you're like, oh, I guess I'm fighting a boss now.
And most of them aren't that difficult either. Like, I'd say, I don't know, like, most of them I'd say are like pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple instances like that hippogriff. I don't know if you remember the guy with the black wings. Like, what does he look like? He looks like a priest with like black wings, and he flops around. I forgot if he's in this first or second castle.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen him or if I fought him.
I think he's in the first, because I played through some of the game.
But he felt kind of easy when I fought him.
Well, he was, because like I got him in a routine where like I would slash him and he would try to recover, and he would jump up. I'd slash him. Right?
Yeah.
So you get in those sort of animation loops where a lot of bosses are really just kind of, at that point, they're trivial.
But then there was this one where this lady was on a plant, and like down below you fought this weird head thing that popped out through the wall. You destroyed that. You go through a couple more rooms, and now it's her with like 3 of those head things.
Yeah.
And it takes forever to like fight through those just to be able to hit her.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I feel like this game in general, like, I think it's great overall, obviously, but I think there's some spots where it's like, this is a little bit more difficult than even some of the bosses.
Yeah.
I don't know how that ended up being that way, but it's just something you just kind of, you roll with the punches is really what it is. And this game, we should say the completion rate here. So to get the best ending, you have to beat Dracula with 196% map completion, which sounds crazy, but again, there's a regular castle you go through, and you have to access the inverted castle by wearing these the holy glasses that you get from one of the rooms in the game. Because Maria, she's from Rondo Blood. She's also a big part of the story here. She kind of like, you intersect with her throughout the game, and she kind of gives you the rundown of what's happening and Dracula and the curse and everything like that. So you have to be wearing the holy glasses while you fight Richter at the end. And you have to be hitting this like orb, I guess you could describe it, above him. And that allows you to not kill Richter, and it allows you to sort of dispel the spell he's under.
Yeah.
And from there, that's when you unlock the whole second castle, which gets you the true ending. So between both castles, the full completion is 200.6% for a total of 1,890 rooms. So I had gotten like 1,877 or something like that. Like when I beat this in 2018 when the Requiem collection came out.
Yeah.
So before we recorded this podcast like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I just need to find this room. It's driving me nuts because there's a trophy for it. So I found the one room, and I beat the game again, and I got the little trophy for 200.6%. So that's the first time I'd officially done that. It's a beefy freaking game. Like, I think my timer said 13 or 14 hours, and of course that's like me being familiar with the game too, right? Like, granted, I hadn't beaten it in a long time previous to that, but that's a pretty significant game for a Metroid game, I would say.
Yeah, I forgot to check what my time is now that I'm in the Upside Down for the first time, but I do know that I have 100% of the right side up castle. Yeah. So if I'm missing anything, it'll definitely be in
You'll know it's inverted.
Yeah, it's in the second one.
And that's what sucked for me is I didn't know which castle it was in. Yeah. So I literally had my iPad with a map, and I'm looking at my TV screen, 55 inches or whatever with the map, and I'm like looking back and forth. It's like, oh, there's a spot. I hope that's the last room.
Did you turn it upside down so that the map's lined up?
No, because fortunately I found a map that had both. So I literally had to go to the main castle first, look at what I was missing there. It turned out it was in there. Okay. So actually I was in the inverted first because my save file was in the inverted castle. So I looked at that first, scanned every freaking room, went to the main, regular castle, found the one room, went back, beat the game, and then my stupid little trophy popped.
The streamer that I was watching play this, he got to a point where he wanted to, fill out the map. He didn't even know for sure if that's what it would do, like if that had any effect on the game, but he wanted to do it. So he took a picture and he like flipped it and faded it, or so that he could overlay it onto.
Oh my god, he went through too much effort.
The other one, and then
Yeah.
he would go and see which square was like peeking through. But then the way he did that, he noticed that there are some parts in the Upside Down that aren't even in the right side up.
I think that makes sense. They're probably different hidden rooms or something like that, or yeah.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't tell either. Like, there's almost 1,900 rooms. It's hard to know one to one if they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, something I want to point out is that you can finish the game or the final bosses in literally seconds. I'm going to post this on Instagram because I did it again to get my percentage. But there's a weapon here called the Shield Rod. This weapon's pretty useless on its own. It's just like a magical rod, but it has properties with certain shields and equipment that you could pair up with it. So like you activate a spell and it gives you some sort of boost. Like I think one summons cows or something like that. Or
Cows?
Yeah, it's really weird. I forgot what combo it is. But if you combine it with the Alucard shield, which is one of the best shields you can get in the game, this thing activates a spell where you can hold the shield out and it does damage from the shield, but it does like I think it's 8 damage or 200. I think it's 256 damage per second.
Jesus.
While getting two seconds of invincibility on Alucard. So I literally finished the last boss in like seconds. You hold that shield up to it and it's just done. So I'll post that on Instagram because it's really fun to do. And I think, I don't know, I think you could do it too, Deucy, because you just have to collect stuff.
I just gotta. I have the rod that is called the Shield Rod, but I don't know if I have any of the shields that pair well with it.
The Alucard shield is later in the game.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about. Like there's so much
Because I have
this game.
I have the Alucard, but not the Alucard.
That's the joke weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you, there's the Alucard shield. I think there's like a sword, and I forgot the other one. A cape.
It's everything
Something like
that you think you lost. So it's like the cape, the shield, the clothes, the whatever.
Yeah, it turns out the developers put that as like a joke in the game because you only get a luck boost, but then you do find the actual Alucard
items.
Yeah, which help you a lot later. But it's like I said, there's so many hidden stuff in this game, and you're going through like 100% through it, so I think you're just going to naturally get to this stuff.
Yeah, probably. Just on accident.
Yeah, because that's right. Because like there's, God, I can't overstate how much stuff is in this game. There's so many different weapons. There's a lot of items that really some are just useless. Unfortunately, like they packed a lot in this game. A lot of it's just for better or worse.
Oh, that's another thing because this is like the origin of this series. But like you can only sell the sellable jewels.
Yes,
you can't sell the
no
weapons.
Equipment, nothing else, which sucks.
Yeah. By the end, you have a long list of weapons and items.
Yeah, and also I noticed there's not that many warp points like in the later games, especially like in the DS ones. They're a lot more generous with the warp rooms, which help a lot.
There's like I think 5, maybe 6.
There's very few.
Yeah,
and even the save points are they're frequent, but they're also kind of spread far apart, which sounds weird, but I feel like it's a little bit inconsistent because there's parts where like I was actually like, geez, am I gonna die and have to restart from wherever I was?
there were some parts where I wanted to fill out the map, and I'm like, that's the closest warp point.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have to go through so much of the castle just to get that one little like speck.
Yeah, so I think if you're looking at that from like a 2024 lens, maybe it doesn't age as well. But at the time, like that was brand spanking new. Like, Metroid didn't have warp rooms or anything like that. Like, it's kind of amazing they just iterated on their genre that was already there and put their own spin on it.
Metroid didn't get warp rooms until
when did it have warp? I can't remember.
Dread has them.
Oh, that's right, Dread does.
But they also don't. One doesn't go to all of them. It's 1-to-1.
Yeah,
and I don't even know if Samus Returns had them in the 3DS
did
version.
Not.
Yeah, so.
No.
It's been only this most recent Metroid that finally has warp points.
Yeah.
That like other Metroidvanias have had since Symphony.
Which again, that's a huge innovation for Metroid games, really, right? Because especially in Symphony of the Night, like there is a lot of backtracking, but to find all the secrets, there's a lot of backtracking. So if there wasn't for the warp rooms, I don't blame people for just giving up. Like that would be such a nightmare to go back and forth through the castle because this castle's pretty complex. Like both the maps, even though they're inverted and whatnot, they're pretty complex. There's a lot of nooks and crannies, and it's pretty huge.
Even though a lot of the areas are named, I still don't remember where on the map they would be.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, you're in the clock tower, or you're in the catacombs, you're in the library. I'm like, okay, but it's all blue squares.
Yeah. Which I think if you play later games, like you kind of understand where those landmarks are, especially like clock tower, throne room, or like in the underground area. But, you're playing multiple Castlevania games. Like, it's something you have to get familiar with at the end of the day.
They all name these the same. Like, Clock Tower is sort of a staple in every Castlevania ever.
It is. Even
the first one.
Exactly. I mean, it's iconic for a reason. That's right before you fight Shaft or Death or whatever he's called in every other game.
Yeah.
You know? He's right before Dracula. So it's like, when you're going through the clock tower that's close to the end of the game, but in here it's not so much the case. Like there's instances where I didn't go to the underground caves because I just missed the entrance.
Oh yeah.
So by the time I went back there, I was like, oh, I'm just overpowered now because I did the clock tower and basically everything else.
Yeah, in this one I got a couple more of the power-ups where you turn into a bat and there's that one super jump one. And then I realized I could technically just go to Richter right now, but there's like an entire, like you said, an underground or a subsection that I didn't even go to. And I'm like, well, I'm going to need this for items and things.
Yeah.
I better go over there.
And realistically, like you could beat the game with a lower percentage if you want to. It's obviously going to be a lot more difficult, but you're still going to get the worst ending because you're likely beating Richter without wearing the holy glasses. And then if you do happen to be in with the holy glasses and beat Dracula, that's considered the good ending.
I like there's an option where you can have the holy glasses on and see the sphere and still kill Richter.
Yeah.
And they give you a trophy for that, I think.
Yeah, they do. It's like you just totally ignored what you were supposed to do.
They like call you a dick or something. They're like, that was a rubbish move.
Yeah. So at least there's some play with that. Like you could get a couple different endings, and it's really just a matter of like how final it is. Another cool thing this game added is playable characters. So in the original PS1 version, you can, after you beat the game, it basically tells you how to unlock Richter, which is just enter his name as your save file, and you can play the whole game through with him. He plays a lot different. Like that's more traditional Castlevania. It's also a lot more difficult because it's more traditional Castlevania in Symphony of the Night.
You still have to pick up the sub weapons the old-fashioned way, don't you?
Yes, exactly. And you have like Richter's slide from Rondo of Blood. You have basically the same attacks from Rondo of Blood. It's just in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And there's a trophy for that. I think you get like 100% completion too. I've never beaten Richter mode because it gets pretty hard. I should just try to tough it out and get through it. And then the PSP port that we talked about earlier introduced Maria as a playable character. Actually, even previous to that, she was in the Saturn version, which I guess we'll kind of touch on that real quick because that one does have some significant differences that are a lot different than the PS1 version. First of all, this was only released in Japan in 1998, so no one in the U.S. ever saw this.
Typical for the Saturn.
Exactly, like that X-Men vs. Street Fighter. There's a lot of ports that the Saturn was still thriving on in Japan that we just never got in the U.S. because they said we're done. Like this thing's dying. We just don't release any good games for it.
Yeah.
Really. Alucard in this game, he has they call it a third hand, which is kind of funny. It's just an easy way to equip health items and potions and whatnot to use like right away.
Yeah,
which I wish was in the PS1 version.
God, when I found out that's how you do that, I was like, what were they thinking?
It sucks. Like in the PS1 version, you can equip items to your left and right hands. So you have to equip the potion or whatever health boost item to your whatever hand you want. Back out of the menu, back out of the pause menu, and then hit the button, like your right hand to use the potion. Go back into the menu, equip what you had, right? Super clunky.
And if you equip food, which also gives you health, instead of a potion, the food like flings out onto the floor, and then you better go and run and get it.
I dropped my turkey one time, and it disappeared off the map because it like fell down. I was like, oh God, it's gone. I needed that. I forgot it did that. So luckily I died, and I got my turkey back. But now I knew not to throw the turkey off the
don't just throw it into the abyss.
No, I think it's some merman or something. I don't know. So he has a third hand in this version, which I think would have been a great quality of life change for the PS1 version. He also has Godspeed boots. My sick voice is so awful right now. He has Godspeed boots, which allow him to run like Richter, which, there is a way in the PS version to traverse faster. You have to shield cancel, which I've gotten really good at doing. Like you equip a shield and you just dash and hit the shield button at the same time.
Oh.
It's kind of like alternating, but they shuffle around. He shuffles on the ground a lot faster.
I do that without a shield though, but I do the back dash. Through rooms.
So you can cancel the dash and it goes even faster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, you'll see it when I post the video too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool. But in the Saturn version, he just has boots that make him, like lightning, basically.
That is necessary. He doesn't even need to move like lightning, but
just a little bit faster.
A little bit faster. I feel like Samus could walk faster than he does.
I think she does.
Yeah.
They also added a couple new areas and bosses. Like there's a cursed prison now and the underground garden. They remixed some of the songs. Some of the downsides to the port, though, unfortunately, which it's very it's very what Saturn's known for. Like, it's not known to be a 3D powerhouse. It does have some lacking effects. So there's not a whole lot of transparency support. So a lot of the transparencies in this game, like,
they still didn't get that right. Like,
well, it just physically is incapable of doing it.
Wow,
is what it is.
Because Genesis couldn't really do transparency either.
It had like a dithered look, which is what this does. So it has like this really squarish dithered look. So it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't really look transparent either. Like, it just looks like a hatch pattern. It just
like
doesn't look good.
like a checkerboard, very tiny.
Yeah, and that was just a problem of the Saturn hardware. Like, it just was awful with transparencies for a reason. Because again, I think, I'm sure videos cover this, but I think it was meant to be more of like a huge 2D powerhouse. And they're like, oh crap, we need to do 3D.
Yeah.
And granted, Symphony Night doesn't have much 3D in it, but it can't do transparency effects, which it should be able to do, but it doesn't. And also on top of that, the graphics are stretched to fit the screen instead of using the Saturn's hardware enhancements. So any enhancement the Saturn did have, the development team that made this, which wasn't the team that made Symphony Night, it was like some other division or some other team in Konami.
Yeah.
They just had no experience with the Saturn, so everything was just kind of botched. So they didn't take advantage of what the Saturn could do, and then the things that the Saturn was bad at were kind of emphasized.
Yeah.
And also, overall, like, of course, Igarashi was like, yeah, this, we don't really endorse this. Like, we were really disappointed that it was happening. It was handled by a whole other team that we didn't really have familiarity with, and they had no familiarity with the Saturn, really. So it was just kind of a botched port. So I think it's significant because it's cool that the Saturn has something like this, but at the same time, like, it sucks because it's really just lost the time. You don't really see this version. It was never re-released. It's not like they did it, they put on the PSP version or anything like that. It's just stuck on the Saturn for better or worse, and support that exists for Japanese players.
I feel like, that's the story with a lot of Saturn games.
It is. A lot of the great ones, especially.
Yeah.
All right, Deucy. So should we get into some speed runs here before we wrap things up, or what?
Yeah.
All right. So speed runs. These are all dominated by one player named Dragon Blitz. He's I've watched him on GDQs because this is also just a really fun game to watch speed run, like Super Metroid, because they tend to break things in ways you can't imagine. So I put a few categories in here. So there's 80%, which is basically typically get through the game any way you can, whether it's like glitches being abused, warps, whatever. It's just get from point A to Z in the quickest way possible. He's beaten the game in 15 minutes, 38 seconds, which is, shorter than a lot of the NES ones by speedrunners.
Yeah.
And this game is like 10 times longer than any of those games,
It's the length of a Turtles game.
It really is. Yeah. He also has the record for all bosses. I assume this is just getting through the entire game and, beating every single boss. Whatever he's using here is insane. It's the same speedrunner, Dragon Blitz, 30 minutes, 59 seconds. There's glitchless any percent. I don't know what this means because the run wasn't totally descriptive of it, but I guess he just, warps through but not using glitches. 30 minutes, 49 seconds. And there's a category called ABRSR, which is all bosses, relics, save Richter, and also by Dragon Blitz, 39 minutes, 42 seconds. That's basically like not quite 100% of the game, but, getting like 100% of the items.
And when they say all bosses, they mean the right side up and upside down?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's pretty ridiculous that he's able to do that. I'm sure there's like warping involved because I can't really recall. It's been a while since I watched a speedrun, but I'm sure there's like, there's a way where like you could clip through the normal castle that somehow throws you in the inverted castle in random locations, stuff like that. Because, the normal way, like you have to spend quite a bit of time to get through the main castle and eventually beat Richter to get to the inverted castle. So I imagine there has to be some sort of bat warp or something he's using on here.
Yeah, there's got to be. And even the glitchless any percent is 10 seconds quicker than all bosses, which I'm assuming the all bosses is also like using glitches and things. It doesn't say glitchless all boss.
I think it's just getting to them and you probably warp into the room or something, kill them.
But glitchless any is just 10 seconds quicker.
It's really crazy. Like he posts like his channel is largely dominated by like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and it's amazing how much he's broken open this game. There's a few other speedrunners too that do it too, but he's the one I think is the most notable for Symphony of the Night. So it's impressive. Like for me, it's even on my best day, even if I remembered where to go and everything, there's no way I could come close to like under an hour. It's impossible for me. If I beat the game smoothly without getting too lost, I consider that a win. Yeah. But I guess that wraps it up. So I don't know, Deucy, how do you feel about Symphony of the Night 27 years later?
I really liked it. But I'm a little jaded, you might say, because, I love Super Metroid, and it's not that, but it's much bigger and everything. But I've also played all of the Metroidvanias since then, all the Castlevania Metroidvanias since then. And so those have a lot of quality of life improvements that this one didn't have.
Yeah.
This one is still a great game all these years later to play through, but there's certain little things here and there where you're like, oh, if only I could do this, or only if I could heal from the menu and not have to switch it to my hands and stuff like that. If only there were closer warps, that sort of thing. But this is still really fun. I did forget to mention that the soundtrack to this is, to me, weird.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that before we wrap things up, because you're right. The music in here, I love the music in here, but it doesn't feel like Castlevania to me, which is I feel it feels like Castlevania now, right? But even at the time, I was like, this, it's very orchestral. It's CD quality music from one thing, which I think might have been the biggest change. Is like,
yeah, you could play it in a CD player.
You could put it in the CD player. The first track is like game data, and Dracula warns you that it's game data.
Yeah.
So he basically says skip the track tune, you hear the soundtrack, and it's just amazing. Like the person who did the music in here is just incredible. Her name was Michiru Yamane, by the way. She's a fantastic composer. But there's like elements of like metal, a little bit of techno. There's like every classical.
But then there's also like some just funny sounding songs that you would not expect in anything so gothic.
Yeah, like the library theme is like really goofy and kind of jazzy.
Yeah, and so that kind of throws me off. Like, it sounds like a great soundtrack to just listen to, but you would not guess that it's a Castlevania soundtrack.
Well, I almost feel like, for me, I think it's almost in the sense that, like, when you look at what the art style is, it almost feels like it doesn't fit with the music. I don't know if that's just me, but it feels like they're not clashing, but you listen to how vivid and vibrant the music is and high quality. And not saying the graphics are bad quality, but, the pixels are pixels. They're squares and kind of rough edges. And you're listening to, like, this gorgeous music in the background. It's like, it's weird. It doesn't fit, but it works.
It's like Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Great example.
Yeah, which was, roughly around the same era, like the same within a couple years of each other. And it was just this time where they were like, okay, you think you know what a fighting game or a gothic horror game should sound like. Let's throw it on its head and give you jazz.
It's fantastic. I do love the music in this game. Yeah. So we should touch on all that. You're right.
Yeah.
But overall, I think you're right on every account you said. Like, that's how I feel about the game in general. It's one of the best PS1 games ever in my eyes, and it's for me for a lot of reasons. Because one, it stood above the rest in being bold and saying, like, we're sticking to 2D, and 3D is like new and fancy, and everyone's doing 3D. Like, every franchise was transitioning to 3D. Like, Crash was out at this time, Spyro, everything looked amazing in 3D. But Castlevania was like, no, we're just gonna take what we did. Literally put it on its head.
I would say that, and I know we've talked about it, it has spawned this genre, but I feel like it also kept 2D alive.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah, because if somebody had forced it into 3D, we would have accepted it. Maybe it would have been better than the N64 version. Maybe it would have been the same. But I feel like nobody else would have taken a chance on 2D games until more recent times when indie games started getting that way.
Exactly, because this was an era where it was, the internet was still new, and everything was just in waves, right? It was a 3D wave of 3D. Like, this was an outlier in the sense that, like, no one expected to be good. Like, it looked old, arguably at the time, right? And yet every reviewer was like, no, this is one of the best games ever, one of the best games you'll play all freaking year on the PS1. And we're still talking about it 27 years later.
And luckily, like I said, they just improved upon it. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel a third time. They were just like, let's just tweak things here and there and make some sequels to this.
They did. And, I wish they'd released more on home consoles, because basically after this, they were just doing portables. Like, they did the Game Boy Advance trilogy, which all exceptional games. Then they did the DS trilogy. And those are all some of the best Metroidvania games you'll ever play. Like, they still hold up well. And, we have collections now that also you can play them, right?
Yeah, thank God.
Thank goodness, yeah. But you're right. Like, this was the sort of the prototype and the blueprint for future Metroidvanias, and like there's a whole genre spawned off of it. And like, of course, there's Metroid's influence, but I feel like Castlevania took Metroid, added its own spin to it, and made a whole new genre, which combined them both. Like, it's Metroidvanias, right? That's what works.
Yeah. What other two totally separate games have like come together to spawn a new genre?
That's a good question. I don't know. We'd have to think on that one, because there's nothing that comes top of mind where I'm like, yeah, you took It's like the joke in Family Guy where, you know, like Reese's and peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
Like Officer Reese found the peanut butter and chocolate.
you got peanut butter in my chocolate. You
Yeah,
got chocolate
right?
in my peanut butter.
That's what they did with Metroid and Castlevania.
Yeah.
It's my perfect Reese's, you know? Yeah, so Symphony of the Night. I'm glad we got to cover this one, Deucy. It's just a landmark game. I was really glad that we could, you know, fill it in October, so I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say, Deucy, before we let everyone go off into the nights and, you know, be ready for our posts and all of our goodness and Doom and Resident Evil and all the spooky things happening in October?
Just press start to rip and tear.